Okay, good morning everyone. This is the second class of engineering thermodynamics. If you recall, in the first class, at the end of the first class, we stopped while discussing thermodynamic equilibrium and zeroth law of thermodynamics. So in this class, we'll start from that. Please try to recall, in the last class we discussed about systems, surroundings, different types of systems, universe, then properties, thermodynamic properties. We learned that there are 8 thermodynamic properties, and then we moved on to equilibrium. And before that, we learned we defined a process, a cycle, a change of state, a thermodynamic state, etc. And today's class we will do the very basic law of thermodynamics, that is zeroth law of thermodynamics. And zeroth law of thermodynamics, the statement is very simple. It says that if a system A is in thermal equilibrium with a system B, if a system A is in a thermal equilibrium with system B, which is in thermal equilibrium with another system C, then A and C will also be in thermal equilibrium with each other. That means A, B, C, all the three systems will be now in thermal equilibrium with one another. So that is the statement of zeroth law. So it states, I am very clearly making the statement. The zeroth law of thermodynamics states that if a thermodynamic system A is in thermal equilibrium with system B, which is in thermal equilibrium with the third system C, then all the three systems A, B and C are in thermal equilibrium with one another. This is the statement of zeroth law of thermodynamics. So if A, B are in equilibrium, B, C are in equilibrium, then A, C are also in equilibrium. At the first place, at the first hearing, it appears very obvious. If A and B are friends, A and B are friends, B and C are friends, is it necessary that A and C are friends? No, not necessarily. If A is greater than B, B is greater than C, then is it necessary? Is it true that C is greater than A? No. But if A is equal to B, B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. So it is not obvious. Although it appears very obvious, it is not obvious. And that statement is called the zeroth law of thermodynamics. Zeroth law of thermodynamics. And I told in the last class that why it is called zeroth law, because this law came into existence after the first law and second law, after the first law was already stated. So there was no room for this law to be named, so they gave it a name zeroth law. Because this is a more fundamental, more basic law of thermodynamics, and logically it should have come before the first law. And what is thermal equilibrium? You know that A and B will be in thermal equilibrium only when there is no heat transfer between A and B. B and C will be in thermal equilibrium only when there is no heat transfer taking place between B and C. So when no heat transfer is taking place between A and B and C, then when A and C also will be kept in physical contact with each other, there won't be any heat interaction between them. That means neither heat will go from A to C or C to A, and therefore A and C will be said to be in thermal equilibrium with each other. Now there lies a small thing. Why does this happen? What is the commonness in all the three because of which the heat transfer is not taking place among them? If you remember, if you take an example, say water flows from one place to the other. Suppose water is not flowing from one place to the other, then what must be same for both the? So water here is not flowing towards this. What may be the reason? The reason may be that the only reason is that both the places are at same altitude. When both the places are sharing the same altitude value, then a liquid will not flow from one place to the other naturally. If you apply a force, it may flow, but otherwise it is not going to flow. Similarly, what is the commonality between A and B? What is the common thing that exists because of which A and B are in thermal equilibrium? Okay, so think over it. What is the commonality between B and C? What is common in B and C so that heat is neither coming from B to C or C to B? What is common? So that very commonality, the common thing, common parameter is named as temperature in thermodynamics. So it is the temperature which decides how heat will flow from one place to the other or one system to the other. So the temperature of A must be same as the temperature of B, and temperature of B must be same as the temperature of C. That's the reason there is no heat transfer between A and B, and that's the only reason why there is no heat transfer between B and C. So the exact concept of temperature came from this. Three systems will be in equilibrium, in thermal equilibrium, only and only when they have the same temperature values. Is that clear? Okay. If we understand this, then I think we can now proceed to define what temperature is. And before I go to the definition of temperature, let me tell you what is the definition of heat. Now, if I ask you what is heat, immediately by reflex you will tell heat is a form of energy, isn't it? Heat is a form of energy. True. Heat is a form of energy. We know that energy exists in different forms in the nature. Electricity, chemical energy, mechanical energy, tidal energy, wave energy, there are nuclear energy, there are many forms of energy, and heat is one form. So heat is a form of energy. If I ask this question to a school student also, he will tell what is heat? Heat is a form of energy. But as an engineering student, particularly as a student of engineering thermodynamics, your answer should not stop here. You must tell a complete definition of heat. Now, what is it? According to thermodynamics, the correct definition of heat is a form of energy which flows Now try to correlate this with the zeroth law of thermodynamics. Heat is a form of energy. I told you, why does water flow? Water flows from one place to the other because of the difference in altitude. So why does heat flow? Heat is a form of energy which flows due to what? Due to temperature difference. Temperature difference. So, one sentence I wrote it in 3 steps. Heat is a form of energy and it flows. And why does it flow? This flows due to temperature difference. These 3 phrases are very important. First of all, heat is a form of energy. We all know that heat is a form of energy. Okay, but let us not stop the definition there. Heat is a form of energy which flows. That means heat must flow. If it is not flowing, it is not heat. I'll give some example. And why does it flow? It flows due to temperature difference. Temperature difference is the only and only reason due to which heat flows. There is no second reason. एक ही कारण है, एक ही reason है because of which heat flows, that is temperature difference. So these 3 phases are very important. Henceforth, if somebody asks you what is heat, don't just tell heat is a form of energy. Heat is a form of energy which flows and it must flow. If it is not flowing, it is not heat. And why does it flow? It flows due to temperature difference. And that is what is happening in that zeroth law of thermodynamics A, B, C. Why heat doesn't flow between A and B? Because there is no temperature difference. Why heat doesn't flow between B and C? Because there is no temperature difference. So there is no temperature difference between A and B, no temperature difference between B and C. Therefore, there is no heat temperature difference between A and C, and therefore heat doesn't flow between A and C. And as a result, all the three systems A, B, C together, they are in thermal equilibrium with one another. Is that clear? So heat is a form of energy which flows due to temperature difference. Now the question comes, how to define temperature? If I ask you what is temperature, I know some of you, maybe many of you will tell temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness. It is unfortunate that many books still write temperature as the degree of hotness and coldness. Temperature is not the degree of hotness and coldness. It is not. Because you see, in a winter midnight, if you go out of your house, go to the field, and there is a metallic pole and there is a tree, you touch the metallic pole, you touch the tree, and you know that the outside temperature is shared by all the objects that are there in the surroundings. So the temperature of electric pole must be same as the temperature of the tree. Now if you touch the tree and touch the electric pole, the degree of, although their temperatures are same, the degree of hotness and coldness will not be the same. This is a common experience. There are reasons for that, conductivity and all those things. But how hot it will appear to you, how cold it will seem to you will be different. The degree of coldness will be different for two objects. How can that be? If they are lying on the outside atmosphere, they must be sharing the same temperature, that is atmospheric temperature. So how can that be different? How can that degree of hotness and coldness? And if degree of hotness and coldness are different, that means that is not temperature. So temperature is not degree of hotness and coldness. If you have this in mind, that temperature is the degree of hotness and coldness, then please remove it. It is a 19th century definition. The correct definition of temperature is derived from the definition of heat itself. What is heat? Heat is a form of energy due to the difference of which heat is a form of energy which flows due to the difference of temperature. Now in the same line we can write temperature is something due to the difference of which what happens? Heat flows. Now temperature is something. What is that something? By now you tell me from the last class, can you tell me what is temperature? Temperature is one of those 8 properties. Alright. Yesterday we listed out 8 properties, thermodynamic properties, pressure, volume, temperature, etc. So temperature is one of them. So temperature is a thermodynamic properties. Temperature is a thermodynamic property due to the difference of which heat flows. So heat has to flow, and it flows due to temperature difference. Temperature is a property due to the difference of which something happens. What is that happening? Flow of heat. Okay. So this is the definition of temperature and heat. So today we learned what is zeroth law of thermodynamics, how to define temperature and how to define heat. Now before we move on to the next thing, let me tell you something, that in thermodynamics, the numerical problems that you will face, you will find that they are very simple. If you understand the concept, you can solve any problem. Still, the students make mistake because they sometimes they are unable to handle the units. So we should be very careful about the units. And to make everything uniform, let us take that all the things that we will discuss will be all the quantities that we will play with will be having a uniform unit system. So we will take SI system. In the SI system, the unit of force, unit of pressure, unit of temperature, all these things should be known to you. What is the unit of pressure? Newton per. What is the unit of pressure? Newton per meter square. And Newton per meter square is called Pascal. A higher unit is kilopascal. A still higher unit is megapascal. And also bar. 1 bar is 10 to the power 5 Pascal. 1 megapascal is 10 to the power 6 Pascal. 1 kilopascal is 10 to the power 3 Pascal. And 1 Pascal is 1 Newton per meter square. What is the unit of temperature? In the SI system, unit of temperature is Kelvin. And if it is given in degree centigrade, you know how to convert degree centigrade into Kelvin. Just add 273. Okay. So 273 will give you adding 273 will give you the Kelvin value. Its temperature value in the Kelvin scale. Actually, it is 273.16, but 273 will add. Now, what is the unit of volume? Meter cube. What is the unit of work? It will be joules, kilojoules, megajoules, etc. What will be the unit of heat? Heat is a form of energy. What is the unit of energy? Work is also a form of energy. Heat is also a form of energy. So normally in normal system we take heat, express heat in calories and kilocalories. But here in this class will not be using calorie. We will be using joules, kilojoules and megajoules. So for that matter, work and heat, they have the same unit. If you remember in the lower classes in plus 2, you had a mechanical equivalent of heat, some 4.2 something. So you were multiplying that 4.2 in order to convert from calorie to joule. But that you don't have to do here. Here the heat also will be expressed in joules, work also will be expressed in joules, kilojoules and megajoules. And any form of energy will be expressing in joules. For example, enthalpy is a form of energy. So enthalpy is energy, so it will be joules. Alright, internal energy is an energy, so it will be in joules. Work will be in joules, heat will be in joules. So all the energy forms will be in joules. Now density, what will be the unit of density? Kg per meter cube. What will be the unit of specific volume? Specific volume is volume per unit mass. That will be meter cube per kg. So these are the quantities that we will be coming across while solving the problems, and we must know how to handle the units. Units are very important in thermodynamics, very important. And if you make any mistake in the units, then you will end up with a wrong result. Even if your understanding is okay, even if your processes are fine, even then you will end up with a wrong result. Okay, so to avoid that, we will learn how to handle units. So when I will be solving numerical problems in the class, you have to be very careful and you have to watch every step. And in every step, while writing an equation, we have to ensure that all the terms in the left hand side must have the same unit as all the terms on the right hand side. Then only the equality of the equation is satisfied. Okay. Now another important thing, and again this is not unknown to you. What is how to calculate thermodynamic work? Now you must have done work done in an isothermal process, work done in an adiabatic process, what is the work done in an isobaric process, and so on. So whatever may be the process, you have to find out the work done by a simple formula that the small amount of work is PdV and the total amount of work done in a process is integration of PdV when the system is changing its state from 1 to 2. So if this is a process 1 to 2, then what is the work done? If this is the PV diagram, then the integration of PdV gives you the work done. So this is something which is already known to you. So irrespective of what the process is, work done can be calculated by integration of PdV. Work done can be calculated by integration of PdV. Okay, and 1 to 2 signify or represent the initial state point and the final state point. Now you see, that day we discussed some processes. What are the processes that we named? One is isothermal process, adiabatic process, isobaric process, isochoric process. Similarly, you have a polytropic process and so on. Now, what is an adiabatic process? What is the equation for an adiabatic process? You know, for an adiabatic process, PV to the power gamma is constant. And what is gamma? This gamma is the ratio of Cp by Cv. Actually, later in the classes, in the later classes, we will come to know what exactly is the name of gamma. It is actually called an adiabatic index or isoentropy index. Now, gamma is ratio of Cp to Cv, and this gamma has, what is the value of gamma? Normally, if I ask what is gamma, then you will say 1.4. But that 1.4 is for diatomic gases. This is for diatomic gases. And this is 1.67 for monoatomic gases. And this is 1.33 for triatomic gases. So, Pb to the power gamma is C is the equation for adiabatic process. Similarly, what is polytropic process? Polytropic process is Pv to the power n is equal to C. I'll tell what n is. So this is polytropic process. N is certainly not gamma. If it is gamma, then it will become an adiabatic process. So polytropic process is Pb to the power n, each constant. Now, I want to tell you one very interesting thing, that is how to calculate work done for different processes. Now, if I take a simple process, this is 1, this is 2, and this is the process. I don't know what kind of process it is. I only know that this is the initial point, this is the initial point, and this is the final point, and the system migrates from 1 to 2 this way. Okay. Now, in order to find out the work done, what I will do, I take a small elemental strip. You know this mathematics, you already know. A small elemental strip, and take the pressure P here, and this small increment in velocity is dV. So the work done is area under this curve, that is P dV. So the small amount of work done is this area. So what will be the total area under the curve? That will be integration of P dV from 1 to 2. So this whole area is the work done in this process. So in order to find out the work done in a process, we have to project it. We have to first represent it in the PV diagram, and then we have to, the end points are projected on the volume axis, and you take the area under the curve. That will be the work associated with the process. Now that will be work done by or on or positive or negative, that we will discuss later on. But this is the